mission is to promote harmony, to make sure that the city is that great, fantastic place to live in. So when someone finds the right answer to their situation or their problem, I think that's good.
My name is Gwenarda Miller, and I am the Fair Housing Manager for the City of Charlotte in the Community Relations Department. A typical day for me as the Fair Housing Manager, of course, is just monitoring the grants in terms of are we in compliance with our grants with HUD. I also look at the files that our investigators are working on, trying to conciliate between the complainant and the respondent, and then also checking the files to make sure that they meet elements of jurisdiction, that our determinations are solid before we submit them to HUD. We have a fantastic team of investigators who investigate in the City of Charlotte. That's myself, and we have a really diverse team which helps us with our education and outreach to different networks and organizations.
We basically enforce the local fair housing ordinance and the local non-discrimination ordinance.
There's a difference between unfair and a violation of the Fair Housing Act. And that becomes a little difficult for people to understand when they're frustrated with a process or a policy, or for instance, someone might say, I lost my job and I'm not able to pay my rent, and I told them I need a payment plan and they won't give it to me. Well, that's not discriminatory, it's just unfair. And it's a little hard sometimes to try to explain that to people because you don't have a resource to resolve that for them.
When someone calls and says, I think I was discriminated against, then we start the process of first determining if the case is jurisdictional. When we determine that the house is located in Charlotte or non-incorporated area of Mecklenburg County, then we start asking questions. What happened? Why do you think you were discriminated against? When did this happen? If this happened more than 365 days ago, then we cannot take the case because it's not jurisdictional. If there is a protected class, if someone says, for instance, no, I think I was discriminated against because of my age, that is not a protected class in fair housing. So we cannot take that protected class. So we need to make sure that all these elements of jurisdiction are in the allegations so we can start the process. And then we start gathering all the information. And we do not represent the complainant. The complainant is going to provide all this evidence that they have. And the respondent has to show us that they treated the complainant the same way they treat everybody, or they treated everybody. Show us that you did the same thing that you did to the complainant with all these other protected classes. Similarly situated people, Latinos, Caucasians, Asians, everything. That's when we can either find, yeah, there is reason to believe that this individual was treated differently, or we get from the respondent what the law says is a non-discriminatory legitimate business reason, so it's no discrimination. There are three outcomes when we do the investigation. One, we find that there is no cause. Or we can find, yes, we found enough evidence, we believe that discrimination happened. During the whole process, by law, we have to offer conciliation. So conciliation is a way for the parties to find an agreement and find resolution.
I think one of the most interesting things that we find is sometimes a misunderstanding. And sometimes if we could have gotten into our landlord-tenant mediation program as opposed to, or code enforcement, as opposed to a fair housing allegations, it could probably make for a more amenable relationship between the two of them as they move forward.
When someone goes wrong, then I think what is the most beneficial for someone who's living in Charlotte is how we do the job as the local government in trying to resolve whatever issue they have. We can really help someone. Even if I cannot investigate the case because it's not jurisdictional, that I can at least refer that person to any other city service so they can find resolution. So that means that that person who's living in Charlotte is happy to live in Charlotte.